Oh, hello! How is everybody doing today? So, I have decided to continue my exploration and my adventure with the Window Manager's world. And what do you think is the better way to do it? The way I see it, from the new user perspective, is of course arcolinux. What a surprise! But they have this amazing tool called Arch Linux Tweak tool. I'll show you right now. You need a password for that. So this tool, it's really amazing. I'll show you in a second why. I already have a video on this tool, but I'm gonna show you real quick. So they have, well, so many categories here that you can just select and start tweaking your system, your Arch Linux system. At least for now it's only for Arch, but this here that says desktop, they have the choice of, well, see how many of them they have. This is almost any available, any known to man desktop environment or window manager, at least to the to the Linux world, of course. But anyway, so they made it so easy to install and try any of these desktop environments. In my case, I'm gonna start exploring some of these window managers again. And the one I want to mention you is this Hyper. Just select the desktop you want and just click install. Obviously I have already done that. I'm not gonna do this in this video. You can try it for yourself, but this Hyper got me interested and I decided to start with that and see what I think, what I can do with it, how easy it is to use and how not easy it is. So let's continue. You can find it on this GitHub page. I'm gonna leave the the GitHub page in the description down below, so don't worry about that. I'm not sure how many of you or any of you have ever used this Hyper window manager. And just to be noted, this is not the same. It's not the same with HYPRLAND window manager. There is a few big differences. One of them is, of course, Hyper, it's built on X11, while HYPRLAND, it's full-blown compositor and it's built on, or well, basically it's built for Wayland. There is a couple more differences you will see with the video, I believe, so I'm not gonna spend too much time. You can find the project here, just you can read about it. They say here if you want to learn more about HYPERLAND, this is the hyperlink for that project. This is different one, and it says only Hyper is only a window manager. It is not a compositor and does not implement a compositor's functionality. You can run it without one, for example Pycom, but if it's running on Xorg, which doesn't require compositor, you can see all the key features of this project, which sounds really amazing. Especially the true parabolic animations or the rounded corners. You can do configuration, and when you save the configuration, it's get reloaded instantly, well, at least almost instantly. You can read all about this here. You have the way how to do the installation. Of course, it's so much easier on the Arch Linux. They have specific page for Void Linux if you are using Void Linux, or you can build it yourself Now they have a couple of screenshots just to see how it's built from the source and how you can make it look like. Of course, contributions. I always encourage every single one of you, if you like the project, you can always contribute to it. So basically they have a wiki page that explains everything about this window manager and how you can build it yourself and how you can customize it. It's not that hard actually. I have already installed it. I have already played with it a little bit. As you can see, I have customized it just a little bit. I'll show you in a second. But this is all you need to do about, all you need to know actually about this Hyper window manager and how you can customize it yourself. You definitely need the hyper.conf, which is the configuration file, and you have to store it in your .config in your hyper folder. You can find it here. There is an example file that you can just copy and paste it and start playing with it, see what you like, see how you can change it, and well, that's pretty much it. Okay, and let's have a look at the config file as we said about that. Just a second, let's open a terminal, and the configuration file for Hyper, it's located in .config/hyper. And now I'm gonna use Nano to open it. If you wanna use Vim, you can use Vim, of course. I'm not that proficient with Vim, that's why I'm using Nano. So anyway, let's open hyper.config, and this is the configuration file for this window manager. This is not the default. I have changed it already a little bit, but let's go through a little quick. So the gaps in right here, I put it for number 7 because this is how I think I like it. And as you can see, the gaps is this specific gaps in, it's the gaps between the windows right here. The border size is 2 right here. I'm sure you have already known that. This is just for my personal reference. And now this is what I really like, the rounding. This is for the rounding corners. The default was 0, but I really like how the corners are rounding, and the number I put it's 20. I tried with 25, I tried with 15. I think 20 works better for me. Now the main key I have selected, it's super. It's a Windows key. This is very important. You use this key in the window manager for pretty much doing everything, while transferring windows here and there, changing the workspace. Well, it's pretty important. You can use, of course, something else like a Alt key or Control key. This is personal choice. I just like the Windows key or the super key in this case. Now you have a couple more options here. You can take a look. I'm not gonna spend time going through. The layout, I have not touched anything on the layout. It's a window, or whatever the correct pronunciation is. I have no problem with that. This is the default right here. I think it's pretty similar to the BSP window manager. I'm not sure. I'm not that big of an expert. I like it. That's why I haven't touched it. Now the bar, it's a little bit more complex, at least it was for me. But here is the perfect time to mention that again this window manager, it's written in modern C++, and this might sound a little confusing for you, but the configuration, as you can see, it's written well. It's written in pretty easy to understand plain text, if you ask me. This is one of the similarities to i3 window manager that I really like. Basically, from my perspective, from using it for a couple of days, this Hyper window manager looks to me a mix between the HYPRLAND and the i3, which again I really like. Plus it's Xorg or X11, it's not on the Wayland. This is for the people that want to try HYPERLAND, I guess, but they don't want to use the Wayland yet. So this is what you get anyway. So this is pretty self-explanatory for the bar. You have the height, you have the monitor, you can change it if you have multiple monitors, you can select each monitor to get the bar on the top here. You have the padding, you have the trace savings. This is, well, this is interesting. If you set this to 1 as is right now as a default, you have a tray icon like mine here. This is the OBS studio that I'm recording this video. If I made some changes to the config, it gets automatically reloaded. The whole window manager gets reloaded automatically, and there is a big chance that you lose the the tray icon here, which is kind of a trade-off, I think, because either you're gonna lose the tray icons or you're gonna lose the bar, which is not really okay. I'm gonna show you. Let's see if I change the, let's see, I can change something here just to show you. For example, yeah, let's change the rounding. That's pretty good example if you ask me. Let's change it. Let's say we're gonna do, wow, 50, it's way too much. Let's go to 30 and just save it. And as you can see, it's it's reloading automatically, and the tray icon where my OBS icon was, it's gone, but the bar stays. This is kind of a fix for the bug. I think they are working on it, I'm not sure. As I said, I'm not an expert, but anyway, let's continue. As you can see, I already have made my bar transparent or semi-transparent. I really like that. It looks like the workspace is here, the date and whatever CPU I'm using, it's like a floating. It's not really on a bar, which, well, like I said, I really like that. You can do this right here. The coloring scheme or the hexadecimal system, whatever you call this, zeros and letters, they always start with 0x. So yeah, if you add another, well, basically the first two digits right here, those two, for example, if it is as its current two zeros, that says it's transparent coloring, and the rest of the code, these 6 symbols here, this is the code of the color. So if, for example, let's try it to FF, which is, as you can see, so as you can see, the FF, it's not transparent, just the opposite. I picked a kind of weird coloring for the bar here, so I'm not gonna leave it like that. Plus, I really like the transparency, so I'm gonna put it back. Now, this second color here, it's the background here of the workspaces. you can play with that. Again, I think you will have so much fun playing with the coloring, playing with the settings as much as I did in the last couple of days. So anyway, you have the modules here, how the modules work. Let me go back to the wiki page. If you go to the bar, everything is explained here. The modules are kinda interesting right now. So basically the module starts with the module word. Now you have the alignment either on right, left or center. Then if you have an icon for whatever module you are putting in, you can place it here. Now next is the color of the text of the module. Then you have the color background right here. You have the refresh rate, and now at the end it's the content. For example, they gave here the date. So let's say this module right here that I moved the date in the center. Again, you place it on the center. I have not put any icons. This is the coloring of the background, the text. Now you have the refresh and the content. It's how the date is visualized. Now you can go with all the modules. The thing is, if you are good and proficient with the bash scripting, for example, you can put your own bash script for whatever module you want to create, and you can place it on the bar. I still do my research about it, and I'm gonna try a few things, see how that's gonna go. I'm not gonna bore you too much with that because I don't want this video to be too long. The other thing that I want to show you is the animations. This is pretty cool. That's another thing that I really like. So if you have enabled with 0, obviously this says the animations are enabled. If you have a mediocre or pretty good high-end computer, this is pretty good. You will see a big difference. If you like animations, of course, like me. If you don't like animations, you can just turn it off. Now the speed, the default speed was 5, but it's kinda slow, so that's why I bump it up to 10, and I may say this works pretty good for me. At least it's pretty close to what I really like to accomplish with this. Now the chip, this is a setting that is highly recommended. Again, if you go to the wiki, where was it? The animations should be somewhere here. Come on. There you go. Now, so animations cheap. If you feel it to be very laggy, you can leave it to 0. The cheap animations do not look bad, they are just different, way smoother and easier for your PC to handle. If you have a good computer, you can leave it with 0. If you have a mediocre computer like I do right here, just it's highly recommended to put it on 1. That's why I leave it like that. Now the workspaces, this is interesting again. I set it to 1. This is not really recommended as it says here. The recommended one is 0, which means it's turned off. What this really means is changing the workspace to the next, you will see a slight little animation. If you change the workspace, you see this sliding like animation, and this is what this workspace is. It's not again really recommended, but it's pretty cool to see. I have bumped up my speed to 7 to 10. Let's put it to 8 right now and try it again. So now if we change the workspace to, let's say, like workspace 4, it's happening simultaneously, but you have a slight little animation. Now if I do the speed to, let's say, 2, which is not that I really like, see how the window comes next to the other one? It's pretty slow. Now you have a very cool animation sliding in. This is similar to the GNOME changing workspaces. I don't know, if you like that, you can play with this. This is not really my thing. It's pretty cool, but I don't know. This is your personal choice. You can play with this. Anyway, now you have the binding of the keys. You have all the free will to do whatever you want to do here. I set up pretty basic binding here. I'm not gonna spend time. Now another interesting thing, it's the execution of the programs when the window manager starts. There is a difference between exec-1s and exec. Now what exec was doing, for example, as you may have seen, my nitrogen comes up every time I reload the window manager. This is because I put it on my exec right here. So this means every time you reload or restart your window manager, this program gonna load once again. Now the exec once, which is right here, for example, this means that this script or this program is gonna run only when you first start your window manager. Now let's see the difference if we change it to, if we change it this to exec-once, save it and reload. Yes, I do. Oops. Now after the reload, you see that my nitrogen does not come up. If we put it back where it was with exec only, now if we save it, it's gonna reload and it's gonna reload and it's gonna show my nitrogen, which for some reason does not show. I don't know. But this is what basically this difference between exec and exec once. So that's pretty cool, guys. I'm not gonna spend any more time here. I'm gonna play with it. I have couple more window managers that I want to try, and I'll see what I'm gonna like at the end, which one I'm gonna choose, and I'm gonna spend more time and do the warning myself. So I'm gonna end up the video here. I hope you really find it interesting or at least entertaining. And I don't know, if you have any comments, any recommendations for me, and if you have any thoughts, you can just feel free to leave it in the comments down below. And I'm gonna leave you here. Have a great week, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.